should we be watching for as the trade deadline looms?
Separation, Alana. And what I mean by that is teams that will maybe fall out of contention, teams that will start to see themselves more as contenders, teams that are on the bubble. Those teams need to decide which way they're going. Now, we know full well that the buy-sell equation is not necessarily binary. Some teams will do both, and it is simplistic to divide teams into that category or those categories. But we do know also that there are teams that just are not quite sure where they are. Teams that are maybe 3.5, 4 back in the wild card race. Teams that might be in that kind of position, 3.5, 4 back, but think we don't really have a chance to win the World Series. So that's what we're looking for over the next couple of weeks. Teams to define themselves, figure out exactly who they are.
Ken, the AL wildcard picture seems to be very muddled. What do you think happens with that? How do you believe that plays out?
I'm not exactly sure, Alana, and a lot will depend on the deadline, on which teams make moves. Now, the Central has a number of teams, the Royals, the Guardians, the Twins, those three in particular, that can go either way, that seemingly have a chance of a wild card, but you're really not sure kind of where they stand. In the East, I fully expect Boston to try to go for it. Toronto and the Yankees, of course, are in that position already. And in the West, the Mariners are a team that still want to do some things, still want to win. So it's a muddled picture. It's kind of what we're getting at here. And I don't know that I expect it to change. I have not mentioned the Texas Rangers there, but they could be 2 hot weeks away from being a team that is a buyer as well.
So much can change over the course of the next 2 weeks, Ken. The Orioles, though, are they a classic should? What does that mean?
They are a classic should sell. Should sell. That's what the should means there, Alana. And yes, they already have made the one move before the deadline, the Brian Baker trade to the Tampa Bay Rays, a good one because it netted them the 37th pick in the draft. And you see the list of trade candidates. These are just players on expiring contracts, except for Baker, who has 3 years of club control remaining. Ryan O'Hearn is an all-star. Ramon Laureano has had a really good run for them. Cedric Mullins, center fielder, and then some right-handed pitching starters. Charlie Morton and Tomoyuki Sagano, as well as Andrew Kittredge and Sir Anthony Dominguez. And then on the injured list of those, Eflin is the one who likely is coming back. So yes, they're going to do some things. They, with the trade of Baker, identified themselves as sellers. We've all been waiting for that. We know they're a disappointment. They want controllable starting pitching. I'm not sure they can get it before the deadline. Teams that have it don't want to trade it. But the Orioles, I expect, will be active, yes. Somewhat like the Tampa Bay Rays were last year when they had that massive sell-off, traded 9 players.
Not to say that it's easy to get into the postseason, Kenny, but it seems like it's an easier pathway in the American League. The National League seems a much more tough race in terms of getting to that postseason with the amount of teams. Let's talk about NL home field advantage. Who separates themselves?
Well, you're talking about the elite teams, Alana, right? And that would be the Phillies, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Cubs, and maybe even the Brewers in that mix. The Dodgers are a team that designed their roster with the intent of not overpaying at the deadline. And I don't expect them to be terribly active. What they have generally looked to do under Andrew Friedman, and this is Friedman's philosophy going back to his days with Tampa Bay, is look for impact moves. So if they can get an impact reliever or an impact bat, that would be maybe better than what Michael Conforto has given them. Yeah, I can see them doing that, but I don't know that they're going to do big things. The Phillies, on the other hand, have significant needs. Need for an outfielder and, more importantly, need for bullpen help. Yes, Jose Alvarado is coming back, but he'll only be available for the regular season. And yes, they can move a starter to the bullpen for the postseason the way they have in the past. But I don't see them necessarily just sitting and standing there saying that's good enough. They can't do that. They know they need bullpen help, and they're going to go out and get it.
All right, Ken. So that's what the 5 contenders in the National League are looking to add. What about the American League? You know the Yankees are going to be in the mix. Toronto's looking good. Obviously, Detroit has kind of led wire to wire so far this season. What are each of those teams missing? What do they need to complement what's already a good roster?
First off, Alana, I expect each of those teams to be aggressive. The Yankees' needs are clear. Third base, big need. Starting pitcher, big need. 2 bullpen arms, that would be a need as well. The Blue Jays, I expect to be aggressive as well. They don't need much help on the offensive side. Obviously, if they can find impact, they would do that. But On the pitching side, they have some short and long-term concerns. Max Scherzer and Chris Bassett are free agents at the end of the year, so a controllable starter for them would be outstanding. Gausman and Barrios only have one more year after this one. And then in the bullpen, I expect Jeff Hoffman to be better in the second half, but at the same time, a high leverage reliever would be certainly something that the Jays would want to add, as well as every other team in the mix. Could they go get a left fielder, someone in the outfield as well? Yes, they could, but I expect them to be pitching heavy. And then finally, the Tigers, another team that will be pitching heavy. They seem to have settled on their right-handed hitting needs. They're okay there, but another starter for sure. And swing and miss relief pitching is something that they've been looking for quite some time. They've got a good pen, but they'd love to get a guy in there who can just strike out people and do it that way.
Ken, I love the fact that so many extra teams get into the postseason because it's good for the fan base and it keeps people interested a lot longer, but it also muddles the situation in terms of who's going to buy and who's going to sell. In your time covering this game, how do you think the wild card picture and the expansion of the wild card teams has changed the deadline?
Exactly what you just said, Alana. It's muddled the picture and it's forced teams to hold on longer because they don't want to give up on a season necessarily and signal to their fans that, you know what, even though we're 4 games out of a wild card, we don't feel we can do it. And teams that have done that in recent years have gotten heavily criticized, and it's just not a healthy way to go about it. Teams should be competing. That's the whole point of the sport. Compete and get to the playoffs. So while it's muddled the picture, it's also made it more interesting in certain respects because at times we will see what they call baseball trades. And what GMs and baseball people mean by that, what they mean by the term baseball trades is major league need for major league need. And rather than a prospect trade in which you're trading a veteran for prospects, you're addressing something on the major league roster both ways. So it's going to be an interesting deadline. A lot of people expect it to be a dud. I don't know that it will be. Yes, Rafael Devers probably was the best player who will be traded, but there is always action, Alana, and I am quite sure there's going to be action this time.
The way to buy, sell, or trade your cards is Arena Club. It is the top marketplace in the biz to get that done. And Kratz, we love the slab pack situation because rolling through a ton of cards, physically opening them, finding all kinds of commons that end up folded or in the garbage is old news. Why not get a slab pack and get a chance at a card worth thousands of dollars?
I was a common card. It's okay if you don't get me in your slab pack because you put as little as $25 into for a slab pack and you could pull out something that's worth thousands of dollars. And it's a keepsake that you get to wait, you know what? It might be worth this much today, but I get to watch the value grow.
And right now you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use the code FOUL. That's 20% off your first card purchase or slab pack at arenaclub.com/foul, code FOUL.